The palace hall of Ifera had never known such silence. Music that once danced through the air collapsed into nothing. Laughter dried up like a river in Harmattan. Hundreds of guests froze, their mouths half open, their eyes wide with disbelief, as the most powerful man in the kingdom stepped down from his golden seat. Prince Zain, heir to the throne of Ifera, walked past daughters of chiefs, past wealthy merchants' children, past perfumed nobles glittering like treasure chests. He did not look at them. He did not slow his steps. He walked straight to the far end of the hall, where the shadows lived, where servants tried to disappear. There he stopped before a trembling young girl holding a tray of chipped clay cups and cloudy water. "I am thirsty, Leora," the prince said calmly. "Do you have water for me, or must I be rich before you share your cup?" Shock slammed into the room like thunder. Guards stiffened. Nobles whispered. The girl shook so badly the cups rattled. But to understand how this moment came to be, a moment that would rewrite the history of Ifera forever, we must return to the beginning. We must go back to the day the richest man in the land chose to become invisible. Long before that night, in a kingdom blessed with wide rivers and fertile earth, there lived a prince named Zain. He was born into abundance so vast it felt endless. His palace was carved from pale stone that glowed under the sun. Storehouses overflowed with grain, oil, and salt enough to feed the kingdom for years. When Zain walked through the city, silk carpets were rolled beneath his feet so dust would never dare touch him. He was tall, strong, and striking, with a calm voice that made people listen. More than that, he was known to be fair. Widows blessed his name. Orphans prayed for him. Yet behind all that splendor, Prince Zain carried a loneliness heavier than iron. Wealth, as he learned, is a crown that attracts smiles but hides truth. Zain never knew who loved him and who loved what he owned. Each morning, messengers arrived announcing visitors. Fathers from distant towns paraded their daughters before the palace gates. They came wrapped in fine cloth, their skin shining with oils, their wrists heavy with beads. They laughed loudly, bowed deeply, and spoke sweet words rehearsed like songs. But when they looked at Prince Zain, they did not see a man. They saw a throne. They saw endless comfort. They saw power. One evening, as orange light melted into night, Zain stood alone on his balcony overlooking the city. Fires flickered below like restless stars. His chest felt tight, as if something precious was missing. Behind him stood Elder Noemi. His advisor, a man whose hair was white with wisdom and whose eyes had seen kings rise and fall. "Noemi," Zain said quietly, "I am tired. A woman told me she loved me today, yet she did not know my fears, my joys, or even my favorite meal. She loved my ring, not my heart. How can I choose a wife who will stand with me if all this gold disappears?" The old man smiled, slow and knowing. He tapped his staff gently against the stone. "My prince," he said, "gold is a mask. It makes people perform. But poverty is a mirror. It shows truth without mercy. If you wish to see hearts clearly, you must first hide your crown." The words sank deep. That night, Prince Zain did not sleep. A dangerous idea took root, bold and unsettling, yet burning with purpose. At dawn, the sun rose fierce over the market of Ifera. The air buzzed with shouting traders and crying children. Smoke from roasting maize mixed with dust. Goats bleated, and coins clinked. Into this chaos limped a man no one noticed at first. His face was smeared with ash and oil. His clothes were torn and stiff with old dirt. A filthy bandage wrapped one leg, and he dragged it painfully behind him. His shoulders sagged like someone long defeated by life. It was Prince Zane. He had transformed himself into a beggar so completely that even the guards would not have recognized him. He hunched forward and rasped his voice. "Please," he croaked, "help a hungry man." People turned away. Some covered their noses. Mothers pulled children closer. Others laughed and hurried past. Each rejection struck Zane like a whip. Was this how the poor were seen? Were they invisible unless they disturbed comfort? He limped toward a cloth stall owned by a wealthy trader. Standing there were the market's most admired girls, known for their beauty and pride. Celine, sharp-tongued and bold, powdered her face excessively. Mera, graceful and boastful, admired her imported sandals. And Tessa, quiet but eager to belong, nodded at everything they said. "I heard the prince prefers flawless skin," Celine said loudly. "By tonight, I will glow like the moon." Mira laughed, tossing her head. "Beauty alone is not enough. A queen must look expensive. When I enter the palace, even the walls will notice." Zane reached out a trembling hand. "Please, my sisters," he begged. "I have not eaten in days. Even water will help." Celine recoiled. "Disgusting. Get away from us. Do you know how much this cloth costs? Your misery might stain it." "Water?" Mira scoffed. "Go drink from the gutter with dogs." "Shoo!" They waved him away like dirt. Zane turned, his heart aching far more than his empty stomach. These were women praised as ideal queens. Then a soft voice stopped him. "Sir," it said gently. "Are you all right?" He turned to see a slim young woman holding a small calabash. Her dress was plain, her feet bare, but her eyes held warmth. She offered him water. "Drink slowly," she said. "The sun is cruel today." "Why?" Zane asked, shaken. "They chased me away." "Why do you help me?" She smiled sadly. "My mother taught me that kindness is not traded. Today it is you. Tomorrow it could be me." "What is your name?" he asked. "Leora," she replied, as she walked away. Zane watched her, his heart pounding. In a land rich with gold, he had found something rarer, and so, destiny quietly shifted its course. The beggar disappeared from the market before sunset, melting into the crowd like smoke after a fire. People forgot him as quickly as they forgot many poor souls who passed through their days unseen. Coins changed hands, prices were shouted, laughter returned, and life continued. But Prince Zane did not forget. Not for a single breath. Back in the palace, servants poured warm water over his body, scrubbing away dust, ash, and the disguise of poverty. Silk robes replaced rags. Gold replaced dirt. Yet something had shifted inside him. The crown felt heavier on his head. The palace walls felt colder around his heart. That night, he summoned Elder Noemi. The old man listened as the prince spoke. His voice low and firm. "Prepare a banquet," Zane said. "Invite every unmarried maiden in Ifiora. No exceptions." Noemi studied his face and nodded, understanding more than words could explain. By the next afternoon, the town crier's gong rang through every street, farm, and marketplace. "Hear ye, hear ye!" His voice boomed. "Prince Zain, heir of Ifyora, calls for a grand banquet this very night. All maidens are invited. Tonight, the prince shall choose his bride." The announcement spread like wildfire. Pots were dropped. Conversations ended mid-sentence. Excitement erupted in homes across the kingdom. Mothers clapped their hands in delight. Fathers straightened their shoulders with pride. Daughters screamed, laughed, and spun in circles, already imagining crowns upon their heads. Boxes of beads were opened. Old gowns were stitched and restitched. Mirrors were fought over. Dreams that had slept quietly suddenly woke and demanded attention. Celine nearly fainted with joy when she heard the news. "I told you!" she screamed, pacing her room. "The prince saw me. He knows beauty when he sees it." Mira clapped her hands, already planning how she would walk, how she would smile, how she would sit beside the throne. Tessa followed them closely, nodding at every word, afraid that without them she was nothing. Together, they convinced themselves fate had chosen them already. Across town, Leora heard the announcement while washing plates behind a small roadside kitchen. Her hands paused in the soapy water. For a moment, she allowed herself to imagine the palace lights. Then she shook her head gently. Banquets were not meant for girls like her. She owned no jewels, no fine clothes, no shoes without holes. Besides, the palace kitchens were hiring extra hands for the feast. She would be there anyway, but as a servant, not a guest. As evening fell, Ifyora transformed. The palace hall glowed like a captured star, lit by hundreds of lanterns and torches. Gold pillars reflected firelight. The air pulsed with drums and flutes. The scent of roasted meat, spiced rice, and sweet wine drifted through the halls, making mouths water. Maidens arrived in waves, wrapped in vibrant fabrics, their laughter echoing off marble walls. Celine and Mira pushed to the front, determined to be seen first. They stood near the throne, back straight, chins high, hearts racing with confidence. Tessa lingered just behind them, copying their movements. Around them, other girls whispered prayers, adjusted jewelry, and stole nervous glances at one another. Suddenly, trumpets blared. The music stopped. The hall fell silent. Prince Zain entered. He was magnificent. Purple velvet flowed behind him like royalty itself. Diamonds flashed against his chest. His crown shimmered under the lantern light. He walked slowly, deliberately, his expression calm but unreadable. Every eye followed him. Every heart held its breath. He descended the steps from the throne, scanning the crowd without smiling. One by one, hopeful faces lit up as his gaze passed over them, then dimmed when it moved on. He stopped before Celine and Mira. They curtsied low, their smiles stretched wide. "You look valuable," Zain said coolly. Celine giggled. "Only the best for you, my prince," she replied sweetly. "We are women fit for a throne." Zain tilted his head slightly. "Tell me," he asked, "if a stranger came to you hungry and thirsty, what would you do?" Mira answered quickly, her voice smooth. "We would help him, of course. Compassion is our nature." Celine nodded eagerly. We are known for our kindness. Their words fell easily, polished lies shaped to please. Zane studied them for a long moment, then turned away without another word. Confusion flickered across their faces. His eyes traveled beyond the glittering crowd, toward the edges of the hall where servants moved quietly like shadows. There he saw Leora, holding a tray of clay cups filled with water, trying desperately to remain unseen. His chest tightened. He raised his voice. "You there," he called. "Come forward." Whispers rippled through the hall. Heads turned. Leora froze. Fear wrapped around her heart. Had she broken a rule? Had she spilled something? With trembling steps, she walked forward, her head bowed low. "Lift your head," the prince said softly. She obeyed. Gasps swept through the room as recognition flashed between them. Zane spoke clearly, his voice carrying to every corner. "I am thirsty, Leora. Do you have water for me, or must I be rich before you share your cup?" Silence swallowed the hall. Leora's hands shook as she offered him the cup. Their eyes met, and understanding struck her like lightning. "It was you," she whispered. "It was," Zen replied, smiling. He turned to the crowd. "Today, I walked among you as nothing. Many turned away. Some mocked me. Some insulted me. But this girl fed me without knowing who I was." He faced Leora again. "A true queen is crowned by kindness, not gold." Then, before anyone could breathe, Prince Zane knelt. Cries of shock burst from the guests. "Leora," he said, "will you stand beside me as my wife?" Tears streamed down her face as she nodded yes. Cheers thundered. Drums roared. Celine, Mira, and Tessa fled in shame as the truth shattered their dreams. And in that moment, the kingdom witnessed masks fall, hearts revealed, and the destiny of Ifiora forever changed. The cheers that shook the palace hall that night did not fade quickly. They rolled through the corridors, spilled into the courtyards, and escaped into the sleeping city of Ifiora. By morning, the story had grown wings. By noon, it had become legend. A prince had chosen a servant. A crown had bowed to kindness. The people spoke of nothing else. Leora woke the next day believing she was still dreaming. Servants now bowed to her, calling her my lady, yet she still felt the weight of yesterday's dust on her feet. When she was led before Prince Zane in the quiet of the royal garden, fear returned to her eyes. But Zane smiled, gently taking her hands. "Do not be afraid," he said. "The crown did not change me. And it will not change you. I chose you because you are yourself." The wedding was simple by royal standards, but powerful in meaning. There was music, there was dancing, but there was no excess meant to impress. Instead, the palace gates were opened wide. The poor were invited. Orphans were fed. Widows sat where nobles once believed only they belonged. For the first time in memory, the palace felt like part of the people, not a world above them. As queen, Leora surprised everyone. She did not hide behind gold walls. She walked the markets where she once walked. She greeted servants by name. When she spoke, her voice carried both softness and strength. She reminded the people of what they had forgotten, that dignity is not sewn into clothes. And what is not measured by coins. Together, King Zane and Queen Leora changed the laws of Ifiora. Shelters were built for the homeless. No traveler was turned away thirsty. Any child who went hungry was fed at the palace kitchens. Kindness became more than a virtue, it became the rule of the land. As for Celine and Mira, they chased wealth from city to city, always searching for rich men to fill the emptiness inside them. But no matter how fine the clothes or how heavy the jewelry, their hearts remained restless. They had learned too late that beauty without kindness is a hollow crown. Years passed, and the story of the beggar prince was told to children by firelight. Parents used it to teach their sons humility and their daughters compassion. Elders nodded knowingly, repeating the lesson woven into its ending, because in the end, the people of Ifiora understood something powerful: the way you treat those who can do nothing for you reveals who you truly are. Gold fades. Beauty fades. Titles fade. But a good heart shines even in the darkest places, so remember this story. Be kind when no reward is promised. Be humble when no one is watching. For you never know if the stranger asking for water is a king, an angel, or destiny itself knocking quietly at your door.